Hello, good afternoon. You're welcome to this podcast session. I'm speaking to you from the Planned Parenthood Association of Ghana. And this afternoon, we are seated to have a very important discussion on child marriage. A very big thank you to PPAG for giving us this space to hold this session. And a big thank you for UNFPA for supporting our sitting here. I have with me today very esteemed people, my very esteemed panelists who are going to join me to have this discussion. I wouldn't do the introductions, I would want them to do the introductions themselves, and then you get to know who we have here. My name is Patience, and from my end, just stay tuned as we have this very important discussion. So to my panelists, to the beautiful lady sitting right beside me, I would want her to introduce herself first.
All right, Patience, thanks for having me. My name is Nache. I'm the head of communications here at PPAG. And let me start by saying that if my parents had married me off as a child, I wouldn't have achieved all the things I have. And so we are here to share insights so that other girls are not married off so that they would achieve more than we have. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Na. I think that is a very applauding introduction. Yeah, so we move to the gentleman among the ladies. He's the man of the household today.
Okay, so I go by Asamo Alanije. I'm a university student, currently level 300. I'm a volunteer at PPAG Ghana. Yes.
Thank you very much, Alan, for being with us.
And I'm Megan Sayu with Curious Minds Ghana. That's the Children in Youth in Broadcasting. And I'm happy to be here because we always want to share so that we save other young girls who are not having the opportunity as we do. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Miss Mavis, for being here with us. So now I'll just go straight into the topic, the main reason why we are seated here. As I mentioned earlier, we are here to discuss issues of child marriage. And I like that Miss Na did mention that if she was married as a child, she wouldn't have been seated here. And today we are looking at the socio-economic drivers of child marriage, addressing poverty and education gaps. How are we able to address poverty and education in relation to child marriage? I believe that if we are able to tackle issues of poverty, issues of education, it will go a long way to, in general, tackle the issue of child marriage. So my very first question will go to Ms. Na. I just would like to know what are some of the primary socio-economic factors that contribute to the high rate of child marriage?
I think for me, I'll start with, cultural norms. We still have, let's not lose sight of the fact that we still have societies in Ghana that have norms that disproportionately, affects young girls. And so many communities think that the place of the woman is to, be married off. The place of the woman is just to, make babies once she starts menstruating. So I think that one for me is cultural norms that we have to battle. The other one is, limited legal protection. So depending on where you find yourself, you don't have maybe access to legal support. Someone will say legal aid, someone will say this, someone will say that. But depending on where you find yourself as a family or as a young girl or as a victim of child marriage, you are unable, to access some of these legal support. Issues of legal rights are very expensive. And so if you are not able to get it easily and at absolutely no rate, that actually puts you in a bad way to end up as a child being married off. And then you see, the other thing is that some societies actually have risen above that to say that, well, the child's place is not marriage, and they are committed to it. I can personally mention a few communities up north. We have places in Wa where PPAG's, child marriage campaigns are very rife, where communities have hoisted child marriage flags and have never flown those flags at half-mast to say that they have never, since the inception of PPAG projects in the communities, have recorded any cases of child marriage. So in as much as the issues are there, socio-cultural norms, limited access to legal support and other things. Some communities actually are worth commending that they've risen the bar and then their flags are flying high.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Na, for going very deep into the question and answering most of what is actually on my mind. So let me just move to our gentleman. I just want to ask, how do you think education, lack of access to quality education, affects a girl child and easily pushes the girl child into marriage?
Okay, so you realize that not having access to education limits you in terms of stuff, in terms of gaining skills, right from JHS, even just basic education. You realize that you are being taught BDT, some technical skills, how to sew, which translates to teaching you how to have some technical skills to sew. You are taught integrated science, how to operate biomass. You are taught how to operate biogas. You are taught how to do some basic stuffs that's going to, let's say if it was a girl child over there, that's going to help her to be educated, to get herself into some one or two stuffs. But this time around, you realize that she's no more in school. She doesn't go through those stuffs. So now she's just open. And as sister now was saying, she was saying that culture demands that, or culture is already dictating for the lady that as a lady, she should know how to cook, she should be a housewife, she should know how to cook, she should be a housewife, she's trained for home, a caretaker, that's her. So if she's not going to school, she will tend to be that as society wants her to be, because there's no other alternative but that. So I think education is very important for the female child because it helps to reduce she not going to school and child marriages too as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alan. And so to me, it's just recently we did celebrate the International Day of the Girl Child, and because the issue of gender roles have come here, let me just ask a question in that direction. I think we have concluded that gender roles by society do perpetuate issues of child marriage. Can you draw more insight into that?
Yes, I would say just like Now was saying again, when we talk about cultural norms, it is like some kind of principles that a community decides to live by. They have decided or accepted to live by. And so when we talk about culture, we always say that it's a dynamic thing and it keeps changing. So sometimes I get surprised why things like child marriage wouldn't change as a culture. Because if he's talking about women being relegated to the home and being caretakers in the home, why would you limit someone to be a caretaker just in the home when they can be caretakers in the corporate world, when they can be caretakers in the entire community? So we see how our brains are limiting us to the things that we are doing. And talking about gender roles, they are roles that we have formulated. So if we realize those things are not helping us, why aren't we changing it? Because we have seen there are a lot of evidences, even as it's seated here. It is one guy with us. We are three ladies. If we had been giving out for marriage, would we be here to empower other young girls to also climb up there? No. And I believe that we are not only beneficial to our families, we are not only beneficial to ourselves, but because of the education we've gotten, because we have been allowed some opportunities to go a step further from our homes, we have climbed up and we are still climbing up so that we can affect the globe and not just our homes. So I think that gender roles are things we can always change because they are limiting us. People have different potential. First, we can say that women can only fit in the kitchen. Even then, not all the women were fitting in the kitchen. We are all humans, people with uniqueness, people with different abilities. There are certain women who don't even like cooking, and it's not a sin because nobody comes out of their mother's womb with a frying pan.
Actually, don't like cooking. Actually, don't like cooking.
Did you hear that? Nobody comes out of their mother's womb with a frying pan.
So, and there are men who also like cooking because you find a lot of the big chefs who are males. How about that? Are we saying so we should relegate the men to the kitchen so that they can be cooking because they can be good cooks? No. So why don't we just allow people to be themselves, allow people to come out of themselves? There are lots of potentials that we suppress and then only allow one potential to stand out, which is not helping us. And that is why a lot of young girls or children are given for marriage. Because when you limit them to just the kitchen, you don't see the essence of them. You're like, it's only food you can cook in the house. So just go and cook for someone who will be giving us money. But if you allow the person to cook, to teach, to be able to be an engineer, to contribute to economic standards in our communities, they do a lot of things. So you wouldn't feel so burdened because they are bringing something back But when you limit them, you are limiting yourself.
Thank you so much, Mavis. So allow the girl child to show you all that she carries, all her potentials. Allow her to use all her potentials at the same time. Not just, just because you're a girl, you have come, go to the kitchen. And then after the kitchen, you're like, oh, okay, so the food that you can cook. So that's made for you. Thank you so much, Mavis, for giving us more insight into that. I just want to hit on the issue of poverty. You know the continent that we are in, and we know how poverty affects a lot of things, and not just child marriage. I don't know if any of the panel want to talk about poverty in relation to child marriage. How do we address issues of poverty and child marriage?
And so I think that let's admit, in our part of the world, things are tough. I mean, things are tough everywhere, but in our part of the world, things are tough. And if you find yourself in rural Ghana, it's even tougher. And that is why you will have many families say that if we have our daughter, and then any man can give us, a cow or something, we can give off our daughter to that man in exchange of, because at the end of the day, let's admit, man must survive. I mean, human being must survive. But we cannot put the survival of human being on top of the rights, the fundamental human rights of the girl child to be in school, to acquire skills, to chase her dream. So now in actually battling poverty, let me start with mindset. It's all about mindset. I always say that people have all the wealth in this world, yet they are very poor. For me, it is not about having all the wealth. It is actually what you do with the wealth you have that makes you, either poor or rich. So it starts with mindset. The mindset of many young girls who tend to become victims of child marriage is that, we are poor, and I'm the only person who can redeem my family out of this poverty. And the only way, that society has actually prescribed to coming out of poverty as we have it now, which shouldn't be the case, is child marriage. Yet, you see many girls go into child marriage or getting off into child marriage, yet the levels of poverty in their families have, and so the scorecard is that giving off your girl child to child marriage is not what it would take to bring you out of child marriage. If that was what it would take, then many of the communities that actually engage in child marriage should be known as, their local economy. Things about them should have been better. So the first one we have to tackle is actually mindset. The other one we actually have to tackle is, giving the girl child the skills that she so much needs to come out of poverty. I always say that, building skills or developing somebody is not just about books. And I share this with younger mentees that I have. That when I was going to the university, my mother told me one thing. She said, Anna, go and develop yourself. She didn't say, now go and learn. And so for me, there's a difference between going to school to actually just learn and going to school to actually develop your entire self. When I went to school, I was doing student activism. I was actually studying. I was making very good friends. I was doing a whole lot of things. I was volunteering, among others. And so if the girl child is not, for example, meant for the classroom, you need not fit the girl into the classroom necessarily. Because once you try to fit the girl into the classroom, the girl says that this is not my place. My marks are no good. I'm putting in effort. Teachers are supporting me. I'm unable to. She will think that, if I'm not cut for the classroom, maybe I'm cut for the bedroom on a man's bed. But if we give the girl child skills beyond the classroom, if the classroom is not helping, which other skill can you learn? Which other trade can you learn? It will shock you that the girl child will leave the classroom, will go learn, a dressmaking, a trade, and the girl child will excel and get international awards, while her peers in the classroom are also equally getting international awards. So when we want to box the girl child to a certain scale that she's not meant for, all of us here have different competencies, and so if you want to box the girl child, you won't end up fighting the poverty. You actually continue to impoverish the girl child. Because once the girl child is in school, says, I can't make it, you're impoverishing her. So her mindset is like, it's not my place. I think I'll do better in a certain man's, bedroom. So for me, it is mindset. Secondly, it is the skills to which we put these girls. The skills must be targeted, and we need not box a girl child into a certain skill that she's not cut for. I'll leave the rest for Alan and Mavis.
I don't know if at this point they still have anything to add.
Anyways, just to add that
Yes.
she's right, because I read this thing and it was saying that we only find people are ineffective when you want the fish to fly and you want the bird to swim.
Indeed.
Wow.
Because yes, that is not where they are meant to be, and you
Exactly.
want the fish to be flying. I mean, there
How
is
is
no
that
way
even
to happen.
possible?
And you would say that the fish is ineffective or the fish is dumb-headed, but that's not it. It was created to swim. So we should be able to expose girls to the world. We should expose them to other alternatives. We shouldn't limit them to, sometimes I don't blame people who engage themselves in like teenage pregnancy and stuff. Do you know why? Because that is the only thing they see around them. If I don't see women engineers, if I don't see women lawyers, if I don't see women journalists,
There's no inspiration.
I won't think about it. The only thing I'll think about is what I see. We are human beings and we should accept the reality. So we should expose young girls so that they know that beyond this, there's something else I can aim for or I can aim at. But if we don't do that, and when someone is giving birth to, they don't know anything. It is up to the environments they find themselves in to say that this is available, that is available. So choose the one you think you can pursue. That is the only way I think we can get out of, because poverty is there and it is still there. And even men or guys that are taking these girls into marriage, they know it, that it is because they want to survive. The parents feel, yes, it is a burden for us. So the only way that we can ease the burden is to give you out, so that at least we don't have to feed 5 mouths. At least we have just 4 to take care of, and then 1 is gone. We have to face it. We are all seeing the kind of economic situations that people are in. Even people with very high education, people who are working in very flourishing environments, they are still saying they are struggling. How much more the one with just junior high education? How much more with the one without any education at all? And the only thing they know is pregnancy, men, kitchen, fetching water, doing domestic chores. I mean, you don't expect them to
The
think about.
standards are actually so low for them.
Yes. They wouldn't think about what they haven't seen before. They can't even imagine it unless they see it somewhere and they're like, okay, so this person is just like me. She's there. How did she do it? Can I get there too? That is how the mindset can change, and the poverty will start changing. But the cycle, like she said, if the money was the issue, it would have been better with people by now, because a lot of people have given children out for marriage. But
then what's their
just a cycle.
status
It's
now?
so continuous because nobody is having any specific skills or any peculiar skills. They all follow the same money. You eat it, it gets finished. You go for another one, eat it, finishes, like that.
Nothing.
They keep
And
giving
then,
birth.
and then I think that just before Alan comes in, I think that because of this cyclical nature of giving girls off in marriage, I've heard, I may be wrong, that sometimes people regret having maybe male children. They want to have the girl child. So yes, because if I have a male child, I can't get
That's
a
why you
child.
can reap off the
You know,
benefits.
so yes, that's why I can reap a certain benefit that is not even a benefit.
Lucrative
you
business.
know, it's not even lucrative. But let me touch on the cyclical nature that Mavis was talking about. And so, you know, let's avert our mind to the rippling effect of the poverty. Imagine me having been given off at age 16. By 17, I have a child. And then my child at 17 has a child. It means that by the time I am twice the age of my daughter, I'm a grandmother. You know, imagine me sitting here as a grandmother. Ooh, I don't want to be, not now. You see, and so it makes the poverty cyclical, so that you are never out of it. The expectation of the girl is that I can only please my family. I can only be celebrated if I'm giving off in marriage and then I bring money home. And so by the time they are having another girl child, it's the same breath of child marriage they are breathing into the girl child, and that girl child is breathing, you know, into the girl child, and it continues. And to land on this, it is just simply babies giving birth to babies. That's where we find ourselves.
Exactly.
I feel like
Babies.
clapping.
Oh, you can clap. So at the end of the day, we have babies giving birth
To babies.
to babies.
It's just that. It's just that.
So Alan, as a man, okay, I know you're a young man. Eventually, you become a full-fledged man. I just want to tackle on the issue of how do you think men? I know it's not just men, but majority of the time it is men that are perpetuating child marriage. I know that there are also women who are behind the shadows pushing their daughters into it. But how are men perpetuating this, and what are some of the steps that men can take to ensure that as a man I do not engage in child marriage by marrying a child, or I do not push my daughter into child marriage? How can we ensure that men are able to tackle these issues? What are some of the measures we should put in place to ensure that men, it's either you are not doing it or you're not pushing your daughter into doing it?
Okay, so as stated earlier by both of all of us, we realize that the core reason why majority of them send their children, both male and female, but let's focus on the male side. Majority of the males send their children into child marriage is because of poverty. We realize how impoverished we are, so it's our only hope of survival. Selling our female child into marriage. Well, one of the ways to reduce such stuff is to, first of all, I'll suggest that government work in collaboration with NGOs and international organizations like UNICEF, who are hell-bent on making sure that girl childs are brought up in a good way. Moreover, they can also bring about some initiatives like teaching girl child in rural areas to develop, teaching them hard skills and technical skills like sewing, dare me say carpentry. Yes, let me say carpentry, and all those other stuff. Just to give them those feelings, so they don't. You realize that when that's the case, they are no more poor because they have something to live on. Yes, so their first result is not just going to be selling their children. You see, because they know that their children is a source of income to them, and that source of income is not limited. Because when they sell their child, it's a limited source of income, but it's a perpetual one. It's forever there till maybe she graduates, and maybe you see it moves on like that. So I think for men is what they'll eat. So long as they are getting something to eat daily, which is for maybe more, you can even link it to education. Let's say if the lady or their child, their female child has gone to school, and their female child is making some ends meet, some daily ends meet from going to school, you realize that they wouldn't have a reason to sell their child into marriage. You get it? Yes.
And I also think that, to get men not to give up their girl children in marriage, or not to get them to also marry younger girls, is to make the punishment stiffer. If it would take life imprisonment to deter men from giving their girl children into marriage, or to deter men from actually saying that I'm accepting a young girl into my home as a wife. I mean, how can a 16-year-old be a wife material? How many yards of that wife material will that 16-year-old child be? How many yards of a wife material can that 16-year-old a girl be? So I think that the punishment must be stiffer. It must be stiffer to the extent that men will not even think of it, talk less of actually, wanting to acting or wanting to engage or so. For me, the punishment must be stiffer, as stiff as to deter men from even thinking about it.
And not just the punishment, because mind you, sometimes the women are even on top of the issue when they come to giving the girls out, because
I want to say that
they think that I am the one suffering. If the man goes out to even work or find something for us, I am the one in the house. The girl comes, I am hungry, and she can't take it anymore. So if she stops hearing that, she's equally fine. So I am thinking then it should be a deliberate engagement to let the men know that you can help someone without having to take advantage or get the person to marry. How about to take care of the person? There are a lot of people that you can marry. I think sometimes just selfishness.
And many of those men is not to cut. They already have wives. And so they are just adding on and adding
because
on
they are
in
helping
the name
you.
of what is the help? What is the
giving
help?
you money.
If it were lucrative, we shouldn't be seeing the levels of poverty we are seeing. By this time, the cycle of poverty should have ended.
It is about the one-time survival. What I want to eat today. They are not thinking about tomorrow. I am hungry today. Should I die? No. She wants to eat and get satisfied and be able to sleep. So they are not thinking about tomorrow and what is going to happen in the future. That is where we are. The saddest truth that we have to embrace. So it's about skills building, and we have to sacrifice something to get there. But that is where we are not willing. That is where society isn't willing, and that is where the nation comes to play their role. Because what interventions? How are you making sure that things are not so expensive that people cannot even purchase, people cannot even buy food to eat? If it gets to that extent, then people will want to do anything. They are so desperate that they'll take anything as like a benefit, because we are looking at just today and not tomorrow. But if you are making things as easy and affordable, accessible for everybody, there are certain basic things that we all know, like human beings should live by: getting food to eat, getting water to drink, bath, and all of those basic amenities. If people have that, then we can say, okay, let's move a step further and build their capacities. That one, they can be a little patient to say, fine, I can eat without relying on anybody, and I can go and then build myself for tomorrow. But if those things are not there, the environment is not conducive and friendly for people to get in there, and it's so difficult because they are in a certain rural community and they have to travel to Accra to come and make it, then we will be where we are.
Thank you so much, Mavis. Now, talking about governments, that brings me to the question of what exactly, what are some of the things that governments and NGOs, like where Ms. now works, which is PPAG, of course, where you have volunteered as well, Mr. Alan, what are some of the measures that governments can put in place, that NGOs can put in place, private entities can put in place to ensure that we are tackling the issue of child marriage and providing long-term solutions? So our focus should be on long-term solutions, because I know this is not the first time child marriage is being discussed. Child marriage has been discussed since I was born, and I was born not today, long time ago. But but every day we talk about child marriage. Can we look at long-term solutions? What should we do? What should we do?
And so what should NGOs and government do? Let me start by saying that the place of NGO and government are complementary. So one complements the other. NGO shouldn't say that, well, it is government to do. Government shouldn't say that, well, I suggest to build roads. It is not our place to, empower the young girls. So we must come to the agreement that it is actually a collaboration, a complementary effort between government and the NGOs. One, job creation. The only way, or one of the key ways to beat poverty, is to create jobs. The jobs may not be for the girl who would end up being a victim of child marriage. It may be for the parent of the girl child. Because mind you, if a parent is empowered, if a parent has job and has the economic, wherewithal to actually take care of the family, giving out her child or his child, girl child for that matter, into marriage will be the last thing on their minds. So governments and NGOs must, especially government, must commit to creating jobs. Now, we must not center the job creation in Accra. The job creation must be evenly distributed, so that somebody in Sagnarigu, somebody in Teshi, my own hometown, somebody in wherever the person finds herself, can have something to do to take care of, their immediate family. I think for me, that is one. And I'll trade my other point on the stiffer punishment. It is up to government to ensure that the punishments are so stiff. Now to the NGOs, I think that for me, as a comms manager of PPAG, what we have done and what we'll continue to do is that we uphold the reproductive health right of these young people. And so we teach them to begin with, menstrual hygiene. it shouldn't take a man to provide sanitary pads. And so what we do is that we support these girls in partnership with our donors. We support them with reproductive health education, and then with the reproductive health materials that they will need to ensure that they are not given off as victims to marriage. Our 24-hour dedicated Yankasa Contact Center is another resource that we offer to these girls. It is free, 0800 20 20 10. It is when you call, we pay for the call charges. If you want to WhatsApp us, it is 0245 118 228, so that the young girls can actually feel free, and even their parents, to reach out to us. Anything that beats their imagination about girl marrying off their girl child or girl child marriage, we are there to actually support them. We also there available with other projects and benefits, for them. We in collaboration with our donors, we run a plethora of projects that is actually meant to boost the confidence of these young girls. The assertiveness to be able to say that, well, my place is not the bedroom, my place is the boardroom. My place, yes,
I like
indeed.
that.
My place is not necessarily the kitchen. My place is the classroom. So we build all these, assertiveness in them to be able to stand up, not rudely, but respectively, to defend, their rights. Where this defense of the rights is beyond them, we are able to give them dedicated numbers to call, and then so that they will seek help. Beyond that, we also hold, as an NGO, intergenerational dialogue. So these are the parents, these are the young girls, these are the young boys. What is the problem? Let us come to the table. Let us hear from each side, and then let us judge to see the way forward. And so these are a few things that we have done. I'll repeat the number, the Yankasa Contact Center. It is 0800 20 20 10, and then the WhatsApp is 0245 118 228.
Thank you so much, Ms. Na, for giving us that. And please don't forget the number again, 0800 20 20.
And it's free when you call.
And it's free when you call. So I will move to Alan and Mavis to add up if they have anything to add up in relation to the question that was asked.
Yes. So I was thinking, since education is one of the driving forces that's going to remove a lot of girls from child marriages, why not collaborate, NGOs and governments collaborate together to award scholarship to a majority of residents living in the rural areas, rather than awarding scholarship and government scholarship to people who are already well-to-do? I don't want to go too political.
This matter.
But a lot of scholarships could be awarded to people who are in dire need of it, than awarding to ministers' children, awarding to presidents' relatives, awarding it to people who are very well to do.
Who can actually, afford.
Exactly. It's very bad. When we have people who are in Navrongo, who are in Bogatanga, who are in dire need, desperate need, because if they don't go to school, it's their only alternative to escape. It's either they go to school
or they get married.
And going to school is costly. So now where do they get it from? That's where the scholarship comes in place. So why not fund scholarship? Because the scholarship that they normally award is from JHS to probably universities. Sometimes if you are fortunate enough, it goes to masters and PhD. So you get it. So we can rather award scholarships to those people to help reduce all these child marriages. Yes.
And sometimes I find our research being one of the reasons for which we are not moving forward with our interventions, because you are not able to tell which specific intervention has really been able to work. And that is the issue of government, because NGOs can only do a little, can only do a portion. But it's up to governments to let us know, okay, these are the interventions that we have put in place. When livelihood empowerment against poverty came, what has it been able to do so far? The monies that are being given to the women and their children, have we been able to alleviate people from poverty as we intended to do? Or it is just even that there are lots of challenges around it, but at least let us know what has happened with that. And even with the NGOs, there are a lot of interventions. So when we work in silos, it doesn't help us achieve efforts, because yes, we are going faster, we are doing our projects, fine, but in the end, are we getting the results that we really want to get? You go and then you advocate, you talk to the young people, and then you tell them when you do this, it helps you, giving them exposure. But in the end, how sustainable is that? how does government come in to create the environment so that whatever we have told the young people, they can act on them? It is one thing telling the child that, or telling the girl that, don't indulge in unhealthy relationships so that you don't get pregnant as a teenager. And it is another thing giving the child what they need to really act on the thing you have told them. If they are unable to do that, whatever we are saying would really work. It will just work for some time. But I believe in advocacy, because sometimes it is better to know and make the decision and expect that, yes, I know the consequences that are coming, than to not know and then it comes to you as a surprise, negative surprise. That one, it doesn't help anybody. So I think that government should really invest into some of these things. I find sometimes our social issues being a secondary matter to our government when they come. It's true, because everybody is thinking of how do we get the money, how do we make the money, how do I progress as an individual, self than society. It's a really big challenge for me. We can't say that these things are not happening. Issues of corruption, issues of giving the right things to the wrong people who are not in need. We are talking about scholarships for brilliant but needy students, but we are giving to brilliant but not needy students.
They are not brilliant.
How about that?
That's very ironic.
How do you know they are not
Let's say they are brilliant, because yes, otherwise maybe they wouldn't get to the top. So all of these things we should serve as watchdogs sometimes, as CSOs, so that when government is going the wrong way, we should call them back. But I know it's very difficult to do that. If you don't take care, you end up in trouble, or you even be closed down, because you are following government. You want to demand accountability from them. But in all of that, we should research and know where we are, at least, because like you said, we started talking about child marriage a long time ago. So where are we now? Are we making progress? Some reports will tell you, yes, we are making progress. But how progressive? What's the pace of our progress? It's all important, because if from the 2021 housing and population and housing census, we are talking about 79,000 and over young girls being married before the age of 18, then it should tell you that we are wasting a lot of girls away. Where are these girls going to grow up to become people like us, to sit in a studio like this and even affect the lives of other young women or other young girls? We are wasting a lot of people away, and that is the human resource that other countries are leveraging to build their nation.
And you know, funny enough, I think in every country the population, when you compare women to men, the women are always more than the men. So as you mentioned, if you have over 79,000 young girls just getting into marriage, being married, and we are not accruing anything from their potentials that will translate into any socio-economic development for the country, then I think there's still a lot of work to do. I know we have been here for a while now. Let me just ask a very last question, and then I think I will let my esteemed panelists take the door out. Right. So I just want to know how. Let's talk policy now. Let's look at our frameworks. I just want to center on the SDGs and how can we leverage on our SDGs. I know, for example, when it comes to SDG 3 talks about good health, and you know, when the girl child is being married at such a young age, her health is at risk. We can talk of SDG 5, which is looking at gender equality. You know, how are we going to leverage on SDGs policy-wise as a country to be able to address the issue of child marriage? It's an open question. We can start from Alana, or maybe any of you can start.
Maybe Alan should. We are giving him the platform.
Yes.
Okay, so recently there was this bill that was passed, and I think it was asserted as
affirmative action.
The affirmative action bill.
Yes.
It's now an act.
It's now an act.
Yeah.
You realize that, if I'm right and I have my details right, I believe affirmative action is when, let's say, we are going to school, and let's see, if the grade for going to school for boys is 8, females are going to be 10. Am I right?
Yes.
Well,
it's
it's
an affirmative action.
It's an affirmative action to get more girls to go to school.
So I was thinking that if we can promote gender equity, Yes, by reinstating or making sure that the affirmative action is not just something that is paper or some paper. You realize the majority of the bills or acts that are enacted in government, they are just paperworks. They don't work. So you realize that if we are able to make sure that this affirmative action which has been brought to Ghana is well to do and is deep rooted in our institutions, in our education systems, in our hospital systems, in every system that is in Ghana, I'm quite positive child marriage is going to reduce by a huge number.
Yeah, and there's something that I always say, that there are people who may never get to hear about SDG, people who may never get to hear about national gender policy. But how do those documents affect their lives? That is what it's supposed to do. So something like the SDG, looking at quality education, and then looking at quality health and well-being, and talking about even sanitation and water resources. All of these things play a part in ensuring that we have that gender equality goal 5 that we want to even achieve as a nation or as a group. But you'd find even the issue of education, how quality is that education? There's a divide or there's a gap when it comes to the kind of education people access. We can all attest the rural people are different. What they see and what they know is different from what the people in the urban centers also get to see and know. But in the end, they will write the same exams and they'll have to fight with all the people, even with their less resources, with their less laboratories. There are people who haven't seen computers before, but they'll write the ICT that someone in Galati would also be writing.
Wow.
So, and sometimes you see that it becomes difficult for us to kind of enforce the policies that we have or implement the policies that we have if we don't provide the basic things that are supposed to be provided. If you are telling us that, fine, you are doing back to school policy, how are you making sure that that's back to school policy, that girl gets to the school fine, but there's no stigmatization in the environment she finds herself?
It's not just about going back to school.
Yes, because there are lots of things that play out there. If you are telling us that there's free SHS, how are you ensuring that there are facilities to retain the girl even during menstruation? There's water flowing for that girl to get access to it when they want to change this washroom and stuff for those people. Even in certain places where they don't even have desk and all of that, washrooms or clean places become like secondary matter or even tertiary, because that is not what we want. Quality education is one thing I'm passionate about, because it is beyond wearing the uniform and going to school. That is what a lot of, excuse me to say, our parents are happy about. But I am so sad, I get so sad when people think that it is just about wearing your uniform, going to sit in the class, because people are getting to the classrooms without books. People are getting there without the teachers to teach them, because you go on strike because government is not doing the right thing for you. So you see a lot of things that have to be done in the background, doesn't even have to get to the top. And they are all in our policies, because if you are saying accessible, something should play out to make it accessible, not just it is there, go for it.
Go for it.
Have you given me what to drive me to get to that portion of taking whatever you have made available? So I think that yes, SDGs are there, but again, who is checking what is being done? Who is checking that? Okay, so for no poverty goal 1, we have ticked target 1 because we have been able to raise the, how do you call it, the rate, something rate. Like the kind of
minimum wage.
Yes, wage rather. The minimum wage. We've been able to raise it so that nobody lives below $1. I mean, it is just $1, but there are people who in a day they won't get it. So how are we making sure all of those boxes we are able to take them? Then in the end we can say that okay, we have been able to achieve zero hunger and no poverty. We have been able to achieve quality education. Otherwise, we can make the policies. Ghana has signed on to a lot of treaties, a lot of conventions, even talking about United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, that children should be protected, even if they are with their parents and they are not protected, they should be taken by the state and be supported, blah, blah, blah. But how is the state going to take? We see a lot of trafficked children, a lot of girls in marriage, and then we are not able to rescue them. Where are you taking them to?
There are no structures.
There's no shelter. So you will see it, but you pass by, because you can't take, if you and I, we go to the field, we find a girl who is in marriage, I can't take that girl to my house. I can only report. And when you report to the DOSU tells you that even our office, we are sharing it with other people, small office. So we can't even bring the girl and make her feel comfortable to share whatever it is she wants to share. And they equally cannot take that girl to their homes. You'll find DOFSO officer telling you that we don't even have fuel in our car to go and rescue a particular girl that has been reported that, oh, this girl has been given for marriage. There was a case like that in Oti region. We kept following up, but there's little we can do. Social welfare tells you we don't have resources. What do we do? So you find the issues, but how to kind of address the issues becomes a challenge. But we know what to do because they are in our books, they are in the policies, they are in the SDGs. But how to do it, how to make resources available for it to be done is a big issue. And we can't say that NGOs should go and do it on their own. They can only do a portion of it. It all comes back to government, and government has to do it. But it's up to us holding government accountable in a manner that's like holding dialogues more and working together more. But if we work as individuals, we would not make a lot of headway. So I think with the policies, we have them, but implementing it, maybe I don't know how right now, but we should find a way of implementing it and more of doing it together than working.
So maybe from what you are saying, I'm seeing that, so that is where most of the interventions should come in, the implementation. That is where we should see government, coming on board and putting in measures, putting in structures to absorb the system, to make sure that even if it's happening in Wa, or it's happening in Walewale, or it's happening in a tiny community somewhere that people don't know about, there's a social welfare that is committed to making sure that the child that is in the child marriage is rescued and has the adequate shelter and things put in place to make sure that even if the child is let go today, the child is not going back to that same house, that they will push her into child marriage, or the child doesn't have anywhere to go and becomes a street child. Then we are having another social issue at our hands. Wow. This is very
because
big.
Even before she comes in, I know there's this one shop center that's DOFSU and then the Ghana Police Service and UNFPA worked on, but it is just in Accra, one office. It is not like it's in districts for people to access, but those are the places that things are happening, and that is why you find a lot of like migration too, because people are moving from where they don't have access to where they can at least see something and then come. And so you find a lot of pressure on the same facility, and it can't serve a lot of people. So maybe if those centers that we have, because Ministry of Gender also does a lot of interventions, and they are the people who even tell you that we can rescue them, but when we bring them, because the place is not big enough, some of them even run away back to the streets or back to the place we rescue them from, because there's just one building or one shelter accommodating a whole lot of people. So it tells us we are doing something, but it is not enough. And we should pay more attention to it. We should stop making it like less of a priority. Everything is important. Otherwise, if you build the schools and the girls are going in for marriage, the school buildings will be there. Nobody will sit inside.
Waste of resources that could have been channeled into something better. Right.
Anyway, so I think that it hurts me that females are a greater majority of the population, yet initiatives are not so female prioritized. It is, I think, they are churned out on a wholesale basis without particular focus on females who are a greater majority of the population and also who are in a more vulnerable state. So I think that when we say policy, it is not just about a piece of paper where people have assented and people say we have this and this, the policy document. It is really not the case. Like you mentioned, it is a matter of implementation. Now, let me also add that, you see, I think that government must reprioritize. Current governments to come must actually reprioritize. And then when we say we are looking at the SDGs, like the SDG 1, no poverty and what have you, the one on gender, on good health and what have you, it shouldn't just be mere chanting of words. SDG this, SDG that. It just shouldn't be chanting.
Yes, and slogans.
We like sloganeering in a part of the world too much. And so just about the slogans, if you ask them, show results, the results are nowhere to be found. Yet they have actually allocated money, spent the monies, and the results don't show for it. In other instances, they'll actually just budget for and said, oh, this amount of money is budgeted to actually get as many girls off child marriage circumstances. Yet the money never reaches the stakeholders who need to actually implement this. The money stays with the big politicians of the country, and that's what they do with the taxpayers' money. We can't really, and I keep saying that sometimes when people get into government, whether they are detached from reality, whether once in a while we should take them on a tour to this side.
I think we
see
should.
what is happening.
No, I think they forget.
People think that Ghana is a car, and then for all the inhumane practices that are going on in other parts of Ghana, people don't actually. It is not people's lived realities. So I think that for me, Accra should not be Ghana for the politician. The politician, you see, NGOs can do to an extent, but the chunk of the resources sits with governments. When I say resources, financial resources, human resources, and what have you, it sits with government. So when you say policy, it shouldn't be like this book that is lying on me. It should be, effort that is producing results. Let's not just say that, well, so we did this and we went to this community. At the end of the day, what results did we achieve? And so when we say policy, it must be marked with results. When we say policy, it must be marked with a certain commitment, not to personal interest, but to the interest of the masses on the street. And to these masses, I mean the girl child on the street. See, if we hold government accountable to the promises they make, and when they come to power, they fail us and they fail abysmally, I'm sure they'll sit up. But of course, we don't hold them accountable. They just bring policy slogans, and that is that. They change the policy slogans, and after every 4 years, renew their mandate, and they come and change policy slogans. If we actually, as a people, hold government accountable, show us results, or we vote them out, I'm sure Patience, I'm sure Alan, I'm sure Mavis, governments will do better. And then the issue of child marriage would reduce, if not being eradicated entirely from our society. And I always say and I repeat, if my mother had, married me off, or my father had married me off in place of a cow, not their cow, I wouldn't be here today.
One big cow.
And so I'm sure that those watching, all of us here will set examples for them that as young girls, we were not married off. As Alan, as a young gentleman, he's not taking any girl to marry as a girl child, and then he's not ready when he gives birth to give his girl child into marriage. I'm sure all of us are pledging. Are we pledging?
Oh, yes.
All of us are pledging,
Pledging
that we are battling child marriage. We are not giving up our younger females off into marriage, and then we are not accepting anybody marrying any girl child.
We are not accepting anybody.
We are not accepting. We are not condoning. We are not.
We are not accepting. We are not condoning. Zero tolerance for child marriage. Thank you so much. As we wrap up, I don't know if there's anything on someone's chest, just to let it out, and then we know that we are done with our discourse for the day. So just our last words, because we are wrapping up.
Okay, so maybe I'll just say my last words. And my last word, I want to address this to the young girl who is watching, to say that, young girl, your place is not that man's bedroom. You have a place in the boardroom. Your place is not only the kitchen. You have a place in the classroom. Your place is not only to make babies as a baby making machine. Your place is to also, add value to yourself and become that girl, that woman you so much dream of. You see all the great women that you see. You have the likes of first ladies, the likes of second ladies, the likes of female business moguls. It is your place. You also can. And so that is why we are here to support you. Reach out to us on the numbers we've mentioned previously. If you need help in achieving your dream, if you need help in coming out of a girl child or a child marriage situation, you can. And we are here to support you to get there.
Thank you so much. You can, and we are always here to support you. Mavis and Alan.
Yes, so I wanted to reinstate what my sister said. That young lady, you are not born with a frying pan in your hands. Yes, you are not born with a frying pan in your hands. You should know your worth and know that you are more than being in the room, as now also stated. Yes, so you are more than that.
Okay, just to add that all of that has been said. As young girls, we also have a responsibility. When you are being protected, you also have a role to protect yourself. So if you don't put in the effort to protect yourself, other people won't be able to protect you. So aim higher, and it is possible, even though difficult. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my esteemed panelists. You have made this discussion worthwhile. I have enjoyed every minute of it. And now, from PPAG, Alan as a volunteer with the Youth Action Movement of PPAG, and Mavis with the Curious Minds. Thank you so much for making this discussion like very engaging. And I have learned so much from this. I have taken a lot home. Let's give young girls hope before vows. Hope before vows. That is what we are looking at. Thank you so much. And we will have another discourse another time. Thank you.
Bye.